Hi there, welcome to the latest video instalment in what I'm up to in the shack. This is lockdown weekend number 7 and has been the case the past few Saturday mornings that I've recorded this. It's an absolutely beautiful day. I've just asked Alexa what the temperature is, and she says that it's 21 degrees, which I assume is in the shade. So it's a really warm day. It feels warmer than that in the sun. Actually, on from last week's video, one of my subs asked me, "Is that a disco antenna that I can see in the background in your video?" And there it is. Another radio hobbyist living 2 doors down. Or was it 3 doors? 3 doors down. I can see his antenna, and he can probably see at least 2 of mine. My Colinia homebrew, looking slightly, well, it is homebrew, so not the prettiest, but works okay. And my G5RV, I'm sure he can see those. So interestingly, I did something this week that I'd never done before, at the behest of my radio club, Harwell Amateur Radio Society. I participated in my first ever contest, and that was the UK. I mean, this is the first me. I can't remember the name of the contest. Basically, it's organised through the RSGB, and it was a 2-metre contest. It was basically make as many contacts as you can in 2.5 hours, from 8 p.m. until 22:30 hours, on 2 meters. So obviously I was limited because I'm using a Colinia, and for whatever, I've measured the SWR on this setup and it's about 2.1, and I don't know why, but my Yaesu FT991 starts complaining if I put more than about 35 watts through it, so I was kind of limited to 30 watts TX power. It was pretty straightforward, actually. You just have to quote a sequence of contact numbers. So the first contact you make, you give them a sequence number of 001 and then 2, 3, 4, and you do that whether you're answering a CQ call or making a CQ call. And then you have to obviously give your call sign and your location. So for me, it's India Oscar 91 and then Hotel Sierra, and you just keep going. Anyway, so I actually downloaded Minos and uploaded my results to the RSGB using that. But given that this was the first time for me, what I actually did was I just wrote all my contacts down, and I made 11 contacts in the end. Quite a few, well, nearly all of them were the first hour and a half, and then for me things sort of seemed to dry up a bit, but I think it's because I was using low power. But my furthest contact, I think, was only about 80 kilometers away. But 11 contacts. I was told by some club members afterwards that actually that isn't bad going, given it's your first time. So that was me. So and I'll do that again. There are lots of sort of VHF, UHF contests, and I'll have another go at that. So that was an interesting thing. So from last week, you guys probably, some of you will remember that I put up a long wire antenna that runs along the back of the garden and then along the side here, and was actually going into my shack in all its completely untidy glory. And what I did was I connected it to the SDR Play RSP Duo and sort of compared it with one of my Welbrook loops. And what was interesting was that on certain frequencies, this simple piece of wire basically seemed to perform as well as my loop. On lower frequencies, on long wave, it was terrible in comparison. Still could hear stations, but it was nowhere near as good. So I've been doing that this weekend. What I've decided to do is, rather than just sit here comparing spectra, I've actually routed it upstairs into the bedroom, and I'll show you quickly. So what I've done is I've literally just routed it through the window here and attached it to my PL880. Now, I've not put it through, I've not cut it to a specific length. It's not resonant at any particular frequency. I've not put it through a matching unit. Both my matching units are in use anyway. All I've simply done is using this, some of you will be familiar with this, Sony kind of connector block. Inside there's a terminal, and this piece of wire is soldered to it, and the wire to the to this audio type jack, 3.5mm I think, is also soldered to it. And then I put a crocodile clip, and I've used this on various radios over the years. And in fact, so there you go. So that hopefully will maybe improve some of the brilliant signals that I've been hearing on with the Sony AN71. So this is basically just an upgrade from the Sony AN71 antenna is basically what I'm trying to do here. So the radio will live on my bedside table, and instead of it just being a piece of wire slung across the window, it'll be a longer sort of 30-meter piece of wire that runs down the house and around the garden. So I'll be having a listen out for that this weekend. The Icon is still in the living room. I'm still sort of using it in the mornings. I copied VOCM in Newfoundland and Labrador 2 mornings ago, coming in loud and clear, which is always, I don't know why actually, but that's always, it's just, even now after several years, it's always a bit of a thrill listening into North American stations, South American stations of course, on medium wave. It never gets old for me. You switch on the radio and you hear this kind of North American accent playing music, and some mornings they literally boom in, and that never sort of gets old for me at all. It doesn't matter how many times I've heard VOCM, and I've heard them a lot. I just never get tired of that. And you know, if I'm up early in the morning, the first thing I'll do is switch on that radio. Or if I've fallen asleep on the sofa and woken up and it's kind of like the early hours of the morning, I'll switch it on. I tend to do that more. I don't sit in the shack now until the early hours. Maybe it's an age thing, I don't know, but that's something that I'll be doing. But it's nice to have a shortwave radio on the bedside table, because if you're knackered, you can go to bed, switch the radio on, and with a sort of piece of long wire, you know that because it's so relatively quiet here from a sort of QRM perspective, you know, you kind of know that you know there's a chance you're going to hear something. And you've seen some of my latest videos where I've copied Radio Verdach in Guatemala, and you know, someone told me that they're using less than 1,000 watts, maybe 500 watts, and I copied them with the PL880 with the Sony AN71 like strung across the window, which I thought was amazing. I thought it was impossible. I think, as I said in my video title on the channel, I actually thought that was just totally impossible to do that, but it's not impossible, and it just does go to show the difference that local QRM can make. So yeah, really pleasing. This weekend I'll also be doing FT8. I've been doing 2 meters, as you guys know, and I've kind of hit the limit, I think, with 2 meters, partially because my SWR on the antenna is only sort of 2.1. So it needs a trim, but to give it a trim, I'll have to dismantle it, or take the whole thing down to dismantle it. And to be honest with you, that is a major pain in the backside, because it's such a sort of lash up, Heath Robinson affair. You know, to take it all down, trim it, I'd have to then put it all back up, because the SWR, I can't really check it until it's back up in the air again, and then if it needs trimming again, bring it all down again. I mean, it's like that's a job for half a day, which I do need to do that, but I don't think I'm going to do that this weekend. Let's see. You know, it's just something that I need to do at some point. Either that, or just look at another antenna that's a bit less of a lash up, really. I mean, from my point of view, the fact that it's still standing upright is the biggest achievement. But, you know, as I said, you know, the fact that I made some, I made 11 contacts on my first ever contest, which I thought was good going. The club thought it was good going. So that was good. So yeah, so FT8. So rather than do 2 meters this weekend, I'm doing FT8 on HF. And like, as I've said before, I've just made another contact actually. Delta Lima 5, Bravo Charlie Foxtrot. It's just, yeah, it's just a good thing to have running in the background when you're supposed to be doing other stuff, like Saturday morning cleaning the house, or you know, that kind of stuff really. These are my reports thus far this morning. I can't remember how long I've been running, half an hour to an hour, something like that. So I'll be doing that. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this radio back out of the box. So the ATS 909X, possibly, probably, in my opinion, I know the opinion of other people, the sort of, in terms of industrial design, aesthetics, the best looking shortwave portable ever made. It's got a brilliant backlight, and although kind of much maligned when it first came out a few years ago for being deaf on the whip antenna, years ago now, I took one out on on more than one DXpedition and made some direct comparisons with this radio against other supposedly more higher performing portables such as the Eaton Satellite, etc. And this radio on a long antenna acquitted itself very well indeed. It's there or thereabouts with the Eaton Satellite, and which means that it can't be far away from, you know, the PL880 in terms of absolute sensitivity with a large antenna, and it handles a large antenna very well. And so that the fact that I know from my own personal experience that this radio does perform well, and it's been stuck in a box now for about 4 months. I'm going to get this radio out, and I'm going to set it up, possibly in the living room, but I might even exchange it for the PL880 and use it as a bedside radio. That's another option I have. So there it is. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, you know, what a lovely looking radio that is. And the thing with this radio is the backlight on this radio is just simply immense. I mean, it's as good as the PL880, possibly. Yeah, it's just brilliant, which makes it a very good radio for using at night, obviously in the living room or in the bedroom. So I'm going to get this radio out and set it up somewhere, and see what I can hear. I haven't done any DXing on this radio probably for like years, I would have thought. It's got superb audio, so it is actually a very nice radio to actually just listen to actually use, without thinking about DX, etc, etc. It's got a lovely audio. In that respect, it's similar to the PL880, which also has very nice audio for its size. In my opinion, I do think this is probably the best looking shortwave portable ever. I've used it for sporadic E on FM because it has RDS. It's good for that as well. So this is a radio that in the past has had a lot of use, but I haven't used it for a long time. So this is a radio that I'll be setting up somewhere in the shack or in the house this weekend. And I know that this is a popular radio with a lot of you guys. In fact, my unboxing video for the ATS 909X is the most popular video on the channel officially. That video has had over 20,000 views, which just goes to show how popular this radio is. In fact, I was asked a question about this radio only recently, whether it should be this or a PL880. You know, although it's been around for a few years now, I don't know how many years, maybe 5-6 years, it's still a popular radio, and it's still only one of two shortwave radios that Sangean manufacture. I think there's one called is it a 404, something like that. A smaller radio, cheaper radio. Yeah, so there you go. So that's me for this weekend. So there you go. That's it. Another weekend of lockdown. I'm still working from home. I'm still sort of popping into work every now and then, into the office. You know, we're all waiting to hear what Boris has got to say tomorrow with regard to perhaps relaxing some of the restrictions on lockdown. I don't expect him to say anything very much more than, you know, you can go outside a bit longer, something like that. He's not going to say, right, you can all like leave your houses now and do whatever the hell you like. I mean, there was over 600 deaths again yesterday. It seems almost like never ending. So that isn't going to happen. But you know, at some point we'll get over this for sure, and that'll be a great day. So that's me. Okay, well, thanks everybody for watching. I wish you all a great weekend. Excellent DX, and keep safe, my friends. Keep safe. Thanks. 73.